but I'm going to be prettier than all the other girls.
Hello, and welcome to episode 51 of Comics and Us. I'm TJ.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Lumpy.
And this is the review show that reviews comics, chronologically, kind of. Alright, still in hiatus here. We're going to go into my pick this time, and Grimm Fairy Tales number 1 and 2 we're going to do today. So, this is a new company that we're covering here, so let me just briefly go over that. They're made by Zenescope Entertainment. They were established in 2005. And they pretty much do just different versions of fairy tales. Like, they have a comic book on, like, Robin Hood. Obviously, Grimm Fairy Tales. They have a whole series based on, like, Wonderland and stuff like that. They also have some basic licensed titles. Like, they do the Charmed comics and the Final Destination comics, apparently.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So, there's a little bit of controversy behind them, too, because we'll get to it on the covers, but all their covers are kind of sexualized.
Kinda?
Kind of?
Kinda? Like, really? Because that's the first thing I noticed was the covers were, well, we'll get into it, but God.
Well, yeah, they're very sexualized. But a lot of people said that's why I bought the comic. So,
Well, yeah, well, I mean, when did this come out? What year did this come out?
2005.
That's a big difference between 2005 and now.
Yes.
Like, I think they might get in trouble now.
Well, their covers nowadays aren't nearly as... In fact, they're not at all.
At this point, people are not myself, but people are a lot more offended by things than they were in 2005. Even 15, 20 years ago, it's a lot different than the atmosphere, I guess, is a lot different than it was.
Yeah, the landscape.
Landscape, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
What's the difference between one of those trashy novels with the guy with no shirt on and chiseled abs?
True. You got the pirate guy standing on the front cover. I don't understand the difference either.
Yeah, like, I'm just confused of what's the difference.
I mean, I'm sure, again, everybody's offended by something nowadays, but I'm sure that one gets some flack now, too.
Yeah, but it's also... Guys don't care. Most of them.
Not as much, right, true.
So,
Men don't care as much, you're right.
So we see that and say so.
It's not, you know what, I don't even know that it's guys don't care. Guys don't notice. Like, I don't look at that kind of, I move right on past it.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
And women also have a long history of being overly sexualized in every media.
True.
So It's also like, I get it, why people would be upset about it, but it's not like it's not the common trope.
Right. Especially our opinions really count because we're just three white guys, so our opinions really make a difference. But.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was just going to mention, there's controversy, but I wasn't going to go much into it because there's not like a whole article on the controversy behind it. It's more like people are like, for instance, somebody complaining about how sexualized the comics are, and then a guy responds and says, that's why I bought the comic and actually read it and liked it.
True, it pulls people in, too, that aren't offended, people that actually, want to see that kind of thing.
Right. And then there's
they are super, super sexualized.
Well, and like another example, another guy said that he bought every copy of Grimm's Fairy Tale, but has never opened the comic book.
Oh, really? He just liked the covers.
Yeah. So the covers are a bit much. And they get worse as you go along. And there's like alternate covers where they're just straight up like naked and stuff sometimes.
They're porn covers, yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Now, you ask us this usually. Why did you pick this one?
Alright, well, there's a story that goes into it. Like, this happened like 7 years ago. I wasn't really up into comics until about 7 years ago, and then I decided I'm going to go to one of these comic sites and just read alphabetically.
Gotcha.
From the numbers, and that didn't last long.
No.
But like first one, God.
You wouldn't have got through A, right? I mean, or you went to a certain comic site.
No, I literally got through the first two. I got the numbers. They were both numbers.
Oh, no, okay.
The first comic I read was called 100 Bullets. It is a Vertigo comic. And those are the guys that did, like, Constantine and Swamp Thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was really good, but it was really weird. And it was like 100 issues.
Okay.
So I was like, I read that. And then the next one I read was 1001 Nights, which is a tie-in to this series. And then that just led to me, because I didn't understand the tie-in. So I went and read the Grimm Fairy Tales, which led to reading the other stuff. And which just is like the first series I got into getting back into comics.
Okay.
And that's why I read into it because you know me. Once I dive into something, I dive into it.
Right. So now it's kind of like nostalgia for you then, right? Because I got to be honest, I wasn't really into this one or the next one, to be honest with you.
Well, honestly, it starts out as just like a horror anthology thing.
Okay.
But it turns into like superheroes and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. Like these first two, I don't like the way they told the story. Like I don't like it's a little convoluted the way they start out and then get into the fairy tale. I don't know. And then they said they're going to tell the true fairy tale, and then from what I realize, it's not.
It's not.
The right.
No.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I'm not gonna be so nice about it. This was really bad. It was borderline unreadable. It was I didn't really like the art, and I didn't like the story at all. If I was just basing it off of these two comics, I'd never read another one.
That's fair.
I just don't. I don't really. There was just nothing to it for me.
What I didn't like was the lead into the story. Like it was in the real world, and then it went into the story, but it didn't. It took it was a hard turn to get into to the fairy tale itself.
Well, and that's all fair, but like I said, I read a tie-in comic to it.
True. You had already had a link to it, and then you went further than we did, and actually found some stuff you liked about it too. This is the beginning. Every beginning of comic books, a lot of them start out rough before they actually get into stuff that actually.
I'll agree with that because there's a few that I really like. That when you read the first two, even three, maybe even five, sometimes you're like, man, where's this going? It's not.
TJ's like 7 comics in the Spawn, and he don't love it yet, so he's got to keep going until he finds his spot that he likes.
Honestly, I should have dove you guys into the Alice in Wonderland stuff or the Robin Hood stuff because those are really good.
Okay.
And these are just.
I mean, these are one hitters too. You're in, you're out. You're not you don't have nothing invested into the characters or anything like that. So that's a difference too.
But this is the start of it, so I figured we should start here.
Right.
I thought you were sending me into this PSA thing again, and I thought...
At first I did too.
Why is he doing this to me?
Oh, no, these are not BSAs. They're also... Zenescope Entertainment's also known for their horror comics. So, this, as you could tell by the way these two at least turn.
Right.
But
you know what I think part of my problem was I like the Grimm Fairy Tales, and I wanted it to be just the Grimm Fairy Tales. I didn't want it to be, let's link this to someone's life. You know what I mean? It's like, it starts out the girl, and somehow she's linked to Red Riding Hood,
I was going to say, that was kind of my thing, was that beginning was kind of unnecessary going into the story. It was not. Like, why did it have to be her dream? But I don't know. That I get it when you look at it from, like, a horror perspective, I guess, is something. But
I actually have answers to all those questions.
Well, that's good. We're going to get into the comic book. I do. My problem, too, it looks very computer-generated.
As far as drawn?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. The cover looked like a video game to me, almost.
It's very perfect lines style. And I'm not I'm not a huge fan of perfect line style. Like, it's very proper drawn.
Well, and that's on the cover. When you get into the actual book, it's not as bad. Like, it reminds me a little bit of Spawn as you get into the actual drawings. But the cover's nothing like the actual drawings. Yeah, I don't know. It get a little Todd McFarlane vibe there.
Well, actually, I guess...
You probably should get into the artists and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm looking at right now. I lost the credits here. Like, I only got the cover pencilers and stuff. It looks like it was penciled by a guy named Eric Basula, Al Rio, and Tom Smith and Christina Strain. There's like 4 different colors and 4 different pencilers on all of these.
Okay.
So that's probably why the cover is different than...
I mean, that happens a lot, too. So.
And the same guys did the pencil. And it was written by Ralph Tedesco, Joe Tyler, Al Rio, Sean Snow, and Eric Piscadito. There's like four writers too.
So who's David Wall?
David Wall.
He writes this full introduction about trains and stuff. I don't know.
I think he's the owner of Zenescope Entertainment.
I got you, because I read that whole thing thinking it was like the writer.
No, I think he's the guy behind the entire. Because I think this is the company's first comic.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then too. If it's their first comic, like they just grabbed something that was going to catch people's eyes and pull it off the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
But even before we get into the comic, I just want to bring up, because it was mentioned off screen, Jacob Ludwig Carl and Wilhelm Carl are the Grimm Brothers.
We made up names. I had Will.
You did say William. It's Wilhelm, but you did say William. You said
Jacob?
Ed.
Oh, I said Ed and Bill. I said Ed and Bill.
It's Jacob Ludwig Carl Grimm and Wilhelm Carl Grimm.
You don't hear Wilhelm anymore. I don't know anybody named Wilhelm.
You know, it's even weirder. It's Jacob Ludwig Carl with a K and Wilhelm Carl with a C.
Oh, so
they both have Carls, but just with a different first letter.
And they're brothers, right?
It looks that way.
Their last names are both Grimm.
They were Hessanian. I don't know what Hessanian is. Or Hesse is the state of Hesse is a state in Germany, apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought they came from Germany. The stories, anyway. A lot of them did.
Where Hessian academics philologists, the study of language and oral and written historical sources, cultural resources. Wow, lexicographers.
You're just saying words. You're making up words now. These are not real words.
It's the study of lexicons and is divided into two separate but equally important academic principles, practice and theoretical, and authors who together collected and published folklore during the 19th century.
Who wrote that? Like, why did you use the big $10 words that we didn't need?
I'm reading off Wikipedia.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Who wrote that?
I was going to say, none of those words meant anything to me at all. None. I don't know what a lexigram is.
Yeah, lexicographers.
Yeah,
right, but you said there's the study of lexicograms.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What's a lexicon?
No, lexicon.
Lexicon.
Okay. What's a lexicon? Yeah, that was my point. None of those words meant anything to me at all. That's a
Comic-Con dedicated to Lex Luthor, the lexicon.
Fine.
Oh,
Lex Luthor, the wrestler? Oh, no, that was Lex Luthor.
That's Lex Luger. Lex Luthor's the bad guy from Superman.
Lexicon is the vocabulary of a person's language or branch of knowledge, the size of the English lexicon.
Alright, I'm already done with you on that.
I'm already going into Wikipedia and putting definitions in for all those words that they freaking wrote in there that nobody knows about.
I'm going to Wikipedia to complain about how large the words were they used to describe those.
Well, it's the study of language, apparently, lexicons. So it's how things are spoken, said, stuff like that.
That works. That would do.
Listeners who are smarter than us are screaming right now, saying, would you just shut up about it? We know what it means.
Okay, that's fine. I don't, but I'll be honest, I don't actually care either. So.
You guys were the one that brought up the Grimm Brothers. I just wanted to throw it out there before it came up in conversation and I didn't have to bring up the Wikipedia page.
But they didn't write all these stories. They went around Germany and gathered up all the stories, right? And then maybe rewrote them?
Who together collected and published folklore during it. They were among the first and best-known collectors of German and European folk tales and popularized the tradition of oral tale types such as Cinderella, the Frog Prince, the Goose Prince.
It's actually something that I do think is really neat, like especially in like Scandinavian culture, older Scandinavian culture, everything was passed down by word of mouth. So a lot of things had actually gotten lost because nothing was actually ever chronicled to paper. You
couldn't email it to you. They couldn't.
No, yeah, and truthfully, a lot of it is truly lost to time. It's gone. It's not.
Yeah.
So what the Brothers Grimm actually did was actually a really cool thing that they were able to, make these things available for us to actually know what was being talked about and the stories that were told back then, even if it is with their own play on it.
Apparently they studied like folklore studies and stuff in college.
Yeah. So one of the things that is really strange, and actually it's kind of crazy because the Bible is actually one of those things that they talk about when they talk about stuff like this. When things were happening, like especially when Catholics, because a lot of like Catholic priests and stuff were actually the ones who were chronicling things back in, like I want to say in like the 1100s, 1200s, when they were writing stuff about history and things that were happening. They were writing true things that were happening, but in their view of it. So they viewed a lot of these people they were writing about as horrible people. So the tale kind of got spawned to be like...
Anytime someone puts their own spin on it, they put their own opinions in it, too.
Right. Yeah. Which I'm sure that the Brothers Grimm here did do that to an extent.
Well, just look how when Walt Disney took a lot of these stories, they changed them completely.
Right. It is technically that story, but it's his view on that story, which I think is actually a really cool concept. I like to look into different stuff like that, people's different concepts. Which actually brings us back to our Batman Spawn thing, which was like, it was almost somebody else's spin on Batman and Spawn.
Right, and then you put another spin on it if you listen to the podcast. You made it a little better. Yeah, yes. I liked your story better.
I like my story, too. TJ, you're not allowed to comment.
So apparently, when they were collecting stories, they got like 156 of them, and then they kept doing it and rearranging their composition until they got up to more than 200 stories.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
I also read, in the 1930s and 40s, the tales were used as propaganda by the Third Reich. Later in the 20th, and then eventually it was sanitized. And apparently the Grimm Fairy, in spite of the cruelty and violence in original versions of some of the tales, which the Grimms eventually had sanitized down.
Wow.
So they were apparently even darker.
Right. So how was the Third Reich using them? Were they making them like Nazis and stuff, and making the Nazis good guys? And
I would assume all those stories during that time, all the bad things that happened were blamed, like, this is what the Jews do, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, which is true. Like, I'm sure that this, like, even alone in this first story, like, the big bad wolf was a Jewish person. I mean, they used to spread, rumors and lies that they would, like, kill babies and stuff. So
they were good at propaganda, no doubt.
And these stories were perfect for them to, to try to say this is what is happening and this is why these people are bad. So I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
So you didn't get into it, TJ, but the front cover is not the cover of one of it's because the cover we were looking at is for a volume of.
Yes, that's the cover of all of this collected works.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the actual first cover is what we're going to cover.
I
couldn't find individual copies.
Gotcha. Which is fine. I mean, this works too, especially if you're going to go further.
I only had the collected works of it, so that's what you got.
I like their little logo, Zenescope. It's got like a dragon. Is that what it is, a dragon?
Well, it's funny you mention that because they were under... Hold on, where is it? They were under... They have something called a Silver Dragon imprint.
Okay.
So, there's that. Also, the company is based in Horsham, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. We live near
so
Horsham.
A lot of their comics do take place in Philadelphia.
Horsham's right outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah. So a lot of their comics and stories do take place in Philadelphia. So we're from that part of the world, just so people know.
Yes.
Yeah, we're East Coast.
All right. So I guess we should get into the comic proper, huh?
Yeah,
sure.
We didn't even get to the cover yet, so yeah, that sounds good.
Well, there was a lot to cover in the beginning here because you had to ask me why I picked it, so forth and so forth. All right, I'm gonna let one of you describe the cover.
Why? Are you trying to get us in trouble?
Yeah.
There's a pretty decent looking wolf in the bed. Like, I like how he's drawn. He looks scary. He's a pretty scary wolf in the bed. And
he's muscular. He's built.
Yeah. He looks like a scary werewolf. It doesn't look like Big Bad Wolf. It looks like a werewolf. And then there's a stripper dressed like Red Riding Hood.
Yes.
Pretty much, right?
It is exactly that. She has a cape. She has a cape, but she has big old red high heels and I want to call it like a skimpy maid's red.
Almost a maid outfit. Yeah, it almost looks like a maid outfit with like a push-up.
Very skimpy. It would be considered more stripper attire. I will give it that.
Her breasts do not look real. They look like they they were bought. They look bought.
Yeah, she's pinup-esque.
Yeah. She's got no clothes on.
No.
And
yeah, that's an actual good description, Lump. A lot of the covers are pinups.
Which I don't mind that. That for me, I enjoy pinup art. So
right. But I mean, I could see how it could be offensive to a woman too.
Yes.
So.
All right. So before anything else to say about the cover?
I'm trying to look. No. It's detailed, but there's not a lot of stuff going on. Like, it's a wolf and a half-naked girl, and she's got a basket.
I'm assuming she's in her grandmother's bedroom or something.
I like the spot where
assuming.
I like the spot where whoever drew it put their signature, because that looks cool right down the bottom of her cape. Like, you wouldn't even notice it. It looks like a wrinkle.
I actually didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So, this is $2.99 in the U.S. and $3.75 in Canada. If anyone's curious.
That's a lot of money.
Can't believe they're allowed to have this in Canada.
Yeah, where we're at, we don't get a Canadian price on Batman right now, so.
Nope.
All right. So we open with two teenagers making out on a couch, and the one guy wants to go further, and the girl doesn't. That's essentially...
Go further? He didn't even go for first base. He went right for second base.
Right?
Like, he went for second base before he went for first base. No, I'm not sure what second third base is.
I don't know if he hears us.
Uncle
I hear
Chris.
you. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Do you hear him, Lump?
Yeah,
I heard you the whole time.
You just blanked out there. You're going to have to start all over.
You were gone. We never...
Yeah, okay, good.
It was weird.
Maybe somebody was telling me not to say it.
Yes.
I said I guess first base is kissing, so he went right to third base instead of second base first. Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, she's against it, and he's a dick about it, makes her cry. She runs up to her room.
Yeah. And when she runs up to her room, her skirt is so short that you can see her butt cheeks when she's gone up the steps, by the way.
Oh.
Yes, I did. Yes.
That's how every woman is drawn in this comic. Like, they are. And the guy looks like he's got a kind of a little bit of a fat belly. And he's
in the one
angry.
picture he does.
Yeah, and he's like angry and kind of a jerk.
Oh, man, if you think that there's some comics I gotta give you guys.
Oh, no. I've seen some comics. Definitely seen some comics, but this one's I don't know how to explain it. Like, they tried to be serious about the story, but they really, really objectified the women in there.
Oh yeah, they did, especially really early on. They objectified the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, she finds a book that she didn't know she had, and my phone's ringing. Hold on. Nope. Apparently nobody. All right.
How do you know it's nobody?
Because it says potential spam.
Oh, okay.
And she picks up the book and starts reading it, and it's Little Red Riding Hood. So then we go from the real world to in the story.
Yeah, she jumps right into the story. Like, that's where I was a little weirded out. Like, why not just go to Red Riding Hood? Why do you gotta have this girl, like, potentially getting date raped before you,
Well, the date rape thing, I understand, but there's a reason for the book and stuff.
Okay. Keep going now.
I will. So, stupid cat.
The cat doesn't like this story.
Yeah, well, Red Riding Hood, obviously she's wearing the Red Riding Hood. And she comes home and her mother says, here, take this basket to grandmother's house. And she leaves to go take it to grandmother's house. She comes across this guy who apparently she had sex with.
Yeah. She doesn't do that kind of stuff, but apparently she did it with this guy.
Well, this is a different person. This is actually the story.
Yeah, but this isn't the Red Riding Hood story. Is this the book that she's reading? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the Red Riding Hood story, and this is the Grimm Fairy Tales version of it. Or at least that book's version of Grimm.
Books. Right.
Exactly. But yeah, he's like, you want to go again? And she's like, no, we weren't supposed to do that in the first place. And she's like, you could take me to the fair or something like that. And he doesn't seem interested in that. And so she walks away and goes into the wood, and he seems all angry.
Yeah, he's definitely staring behind her like he's mad.
Yes, so I am just pretty much generalizing this. We've gone through like 5-6 pages already.
Yeah, he flew through that.
Well, but that's all that happened. I mean, there wasn't really anything to explain.
Well, that's another reason why I kind of got into this. There's not a lot of dialogue.
I know, I got a little nervous at first because you gave us the volume, so I read the first 3 pages. I'm like, oh no, this is a book. But it's definitely not. It's easy read. It does fly through.
Yeah, there's just it lets the art do a lot of the talking.
Yeah, which I like. I do like that. But you
okay.
don't like dialogue.
Yeah,
I know. but I just feel like the art just didn't do it justice for me. Like, this one page of where she said, like, stupid girl to think that a man of Sandra's nobility would want to marry you. But, like, looking at those pictures, why? What are those pictures? Those pictures do absolutely nothing.
It is page filler. Actually, one picture is like another version of the bottom big picture.
Yeah, it's just... And then the next page is the same. Like, I get it, they're trying to make the woods look like a little bit like maybe dark and scary, but I just didn't get it. I got what they were trying to get, but it doesn't still do it for me. I don't know. I'm just not... I also don't know that I like this style art, I think is my other problem.
I do still feel computer generated. Like, it does remind me of like Todd McFarlane a little bit, but it looks very, very computer generated. And like you just said, I can go 2 pages now without having to even read anything. Like, choom, done.
You know, I'm liking the fact that you guys don't really earn into this. I got something I can punish you with when you punish me with Spawn.
So we go through the woods. And
I love it. I think it's phenomenal, TJ.
Well, actually, I didn't really like these first 2, but if you're saying it gets better, I would still like to. You know, I don't hate anything. You know, that's my worst
I'm the
part.
same.
I wish I hated it more so I could break your balls about it more, TJ. But I really it's just it's there. You know.
And I can't even say I hate it because I will read more. Like I'm intrigued enough to read more. I'm just not. I don't know. I think that I was a little bit excited when he said Grimm.
Grimm's Fairy Tale. Like, me too.
You went in with expectations. That's what your problem.
I think that's what kind of happened to me, and I was expecting something more.
See, I went in the complete opposite. I didn't go in with any expectations. Like, I read that tie-in comic, and I was like, oh, apparently this is a whole world behind it. I guess I'll go check out to see what's going on, and then I just read it.
So, what do we get to? Where are we
Anyway, she's going through the forest, and she comes across the woodcutter.
Yeah.
And he's like, you shouldn't go through the forest alone, and she's like, she'll be fine. So he gives her a machete, and he asks her to the fair, and she's like, oh, the other guy already asked me, and then he's all angry because that guy asked her.
There's some angry dudes in this comic. She's pissing everybody off.
And the thing is, so I didn't get that so much that he was, like, this guy at least isn't really mad at her necessarily. No. He's just mad that guy's a scumbag, basically. Like, he kind of...
He's mad that scumbag has the girl that he likes.
Right. But that guy's just a scumbag, so...
Right. Well, we'll get to it. So, Red Riding Hood continues on, but then she comes across some blood...
And she a butterfly at night for some reason.
Is it a butterfly? I thought it was like a moth.
Yeah, it might be a moth. Whatever it is, it's on the blood.
Anyway, she drops her basket, draws her sword as 2 wolves come out of the forest.
Oh, and did I skip this page? I didn't even see this page.
What, the 2 wolves?
Yeah, it's weird.
They had killed something. I don't know what it is.
It looks like a deer. I saw like a deer leg back there on the
That's a deer leg for sure.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So she runs from the wolf, she trips, the full moon comes out, and we get a silhouette of a guy turning into the big bad wolf, I guess, or a werewolf in this instance.
Yeah.
And there's just a big shot of him howling at the moon.
Which I like. I like that one. No?
I don't know. I can't really explain it.
If you're looking at him if you're looking at him as the big bad wolf, then no. But if you're looking at like a werewolf, he's a cool werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not on the next page.
There's just not enough like definition to me. Like, there's just not like the hair is kind of like poorly done on him. I don't know. It's just kind of.
It is?
To me, like, if you actually go into the next page when he's standing there, you actually see a little bit of definition of like hair at least. Where, like, on this, I see some on the outer edges. I don't know. For me, I'm not impressed by it. And I can't really, like, even the page before, like, it almost looks like a Batman head in the silhouette.
Yeah, the way it's drawn in the back. He's got, like, 2 big ears sticking up, even though he's not a wolf yet.
Yeah, I'm just kind of bothered by it, and I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just my opinion on it.
Anyway, we cut to the grandmother's house where she's making tea, I guess. And there's a... So did the big bad wolf knock on the door?
Yeah, or did he... yeah, I guess he knocked on the door.
They don't...
She says, "Red, is that you?" Is he just like standing there, breathing heavy? And she's like,
I don't know. I just found that part weird.
Also, Grandma is not using a stove. She's using like a wood burning stove to heat her tea up, right?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be like olden days, I think.
Yeah, see, I that's another thing. I can't gauge a time. Like, I don't know. It went into the book, and the girl was in modern times. But it didn't change a whole lot the way the scenery was. Like, there's still a little village and church and trees and stuff when she's Red Riding Hood. It looks like lights outside of there's a light post. So I wasn't sure where they went.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never had that problem. I always just assumed it was in the past.
Okay. I mean, I know it was in the past. I just didn't know where. There are horses. I didn't see a car. So yeah, it's got to be pretty far back. So. No, I lost where we were.
I think the problem is, I'm going to give you this, guys, right now. I think you guys thought way too much about this.
See, I really like the Grimm Fairy Tales, so I was expecting Grimm Fairy Tales, I think.
I don't think you're supposed to go into it and really think about it.
Well, so, see, and I kind of disagree. On this type of story, they leave it up to you to think about it because there's no word. So the whole point is you are thinking about it. The way I look at it is like I'm trying to come up with a story here because they're not really giving me a story.
But at the same time, there's not much to tell. It's Red Riding Hood. She's going through the forest. She's going to be attacked by a wolf. You know, it's the same beats. It's just slightly altered.
She's got a sword and stuff.
If you don't know
she's got a big-ass machete.
If you don't know the Red Riding Hood story, which is what Grimm was trying to pass down, is the Red Riding Hood story.
At that point, it was 1895 or something. It's been over 100 years. Everybody knows the Red Riding story.
Spoiler alert, she don't even say, Grandma, what big eyes you have. So
no, she doesn't.
And actually, the wolf's not even dressed up like Grandma when she gets there.
No. Because that was the most ridiculous part about that, though.
It kind of was. It kind of was a weird part of the story. You get there. The wolf ate her grandma and then decided to dress in her clothes and then lay there and wait.
And talk to her afterwards?
And talk to her, yeah.
It's a little strange.
There were a lot of shapeshifters back then.
Which is what he is right here. Anyway, she answers the door and there's the big bad wolf. But, so Grandma screams and Red Riding Hood hears it and she runs toward the cabin.
Cat's scared of
this part.
Story, yeah. Doesn't like the dog part, yeah.
She doesn't like the dog part, yeah. Alright, so she opens the door and sees a giant blood splatter.
It's gory. There's a hand.
Yeah, and Grandma was eaten, pretty much. But the woodcutter shows up behind her, and Red freaks out and pretty much attacks him and stabs him in the gut with the machete.
Yeah, she almost disembowels him.
So, before that, to me, I think that was some of the best drawing in this whole comic, was the hand and the blood on the floor. Like, I thought they did a good job with that. But then...
Good. Continue.
With the hand, like, they did a good job. But then, when she stabs him in the stomach, it's just like a pool of blood inside of his shirt. I don't know. It just was like I was confused by it. Some of the drawings bothered me in this,
and some of them go full on background, and then that part it goes to like 40s Batman where they don't draw a background; they just put some squiggly lines.
Yes, and color.
Yeah.
That was probably budget reasons, honestly.
Yeah, probably. Or I mean, you are trying to convey like somebody's freaking out. So
yeah, so I guess it's true too. But it is what it is. Anyway, she runs away from the woodcutter and runs into the big bad wolf, who rips off her shirt.
Yes, we get a full, almost everything but nipple we get on this picture here.
Yeah, and it looks like the big bad wolf's going to have his way with her.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to want to eat her. He seems to want to mate with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the woodcutter uses the axe on him and kills him, and then he reverts back to the nobleman from earlier.
It is the guy who wanted to mate with her. See that? He did try to mate with her. Exactly. Yeah.
And he dies, and then the woodcutter dies, and then she wakes up, and we're back in the real world.
Yeah. And then she's gonna connect it with her real life. That's what she's gonna do.
She thinks it was all a dream, but she's got a scar, and there's leaves on her bed.
Where's the scar?
On her face. When she's looking in the mirror, she touches her face.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was a scar. It's like just a pencil line.
I'm glad you knew what they were, but I've been trying to figure out what the hell was on her bed.
Oh, I thought that was the book ripped up. That's what I thought that was on her bed.
For days, I've been trying to figure this out. And TJ says leaves, and he's right. He's right, it's leaves.
I automatically thought it was the book she was reading torn to shreds for some reason.
I thought it was her shirt, because the color of the leaves are the same color as her shirt, but I'm like, the shirt's not ripped. So what? I'm confused.
It's leaves. Okay. It makes sense.
But
leaves make sense.
That actually makes it better for me.
But she says, before she gets up, she says, where did that book go anyway? And then you look back, and I thought that's what it was. The book was torn up on her bed.
All right, so I'm going to tell you right now. These stories are kind of have an overarching thing based on a character who owns that book. That book is magic.
Oh, well, see, we need to know this crap before we get into this kind of book.
It doesn't get revealed until a few stories later.
Okay, well, that makes a lot more sense. That changes this whole thing. TJ, you should have told me that in the beginning, because now I wouldn't have shit on it so much, because the magic book makes a lot more sense.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I will read more, because that might help out a lot in the story. For me.
Yeah, you should have gave me the magic book, and I would have been like, I
wanted your pure reactions to it.
My pure reaction is this first comic, I would have never bought another one. I would have put it down and said that was.
That's what I said. I read these two. Even the next one, I read these two, and I was like, I'll be honest. If I base it just off of that, I'll probably never read another one again.
Right, but the magic book, I like that story arc.
All right, you want to know another thing? About 3 years later, they release a new series called Myth and Legends, and this girl comes back. And she actually becomes, she gets bit by a wolf and actually turns into such shapeshifting back and forth into a wolf, and she becomes like a spy and shit.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's different.
She becomes a superhero. But it doesn't happen too much later, so it was a neat callback to the first character they ever created, and then making her into something.
Why did they do the spy thing? You know, I noticed that a lot. I honestly read the Tarzan books by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Is that who wrote them? I think it was Edgar Rice Burroughs. But anyway, the second Tarzan book, he becomes a spy. Tarzan does.
A spy for who?
For England. I think it's England. I don't even know. It's been so long. But I remember he doesn't hook up with Jane at the end of the original Tarzan book. And then the second book, there's these guys trying to kill him, and he stops it, and they get arrested. And then they offer him a job as like a spy. Yeah, it's really weird.
Well, it's strange. The way the story unrolls, it's hard to explain. You would have to actually really go and read the story arcs and to really realize why they did it that way.
Right.
But
that helps.
Because this is the only time you see this girl up until that point.
Right, okay.
So, and then it's a callback to her being the first character they ever created, and then turn her in. Because this turns into like a superhero drama thing eventually.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little intriguing to find out what's going on now, but I mean, it's no Spawn, but it sounds pretty good.
Whatever.
It's definitely no Spawn.
I don't think I mentioned this was 21 pages long.
That first one was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was long.
And so was the second one.
They were long.
They felt long.
They weren't as long as Batman Spawn.
They were long.
Combined are they longer than Batman Spawn.
Well,
and I thought Batman Spawn felt short.
I didn't.
These don't feel long to me because I can zip through them, but you could tell that they were long. Like it had a lot of fat. Well, that
honestly, in 2005, I think that was the common length for that. It's still the common length for a comic these days. It's about 20 to 23 pages long.
Okay, we're just used to the old Batmans.
Yeah, we're just used to the 12, 13 page Batman stories.
Yeah. In and out. That's how I like it. That's the same thing with my movies. 90 minutes and out. I don't like all this long stuff.
But at the same time, those stories are also part of an anthology comic that's 64 pages long.
Right.
So that's not the only story. Well, when we cover full Batman issues, there's like 5 stories in there, you know?
True, yeah.
All right. Let's move on to issue number 2, Cinderella. All right. Since Uncle Chris did the first one, Lumpy, why don't you do the cover for this one?
What? You mean, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a castle. Looks like Cinderella's castle. It's got the clock tower. And Cinderella running down with giant boobs sticking out. She's not dressed. She's not dressed as provocative as the last one.
No.
But it's still provocative.
But it is still provocative.
Well, she's got her thigh-high stockings on to start with. And like the first thing I noticed was giant boobs. Like I didn't even know there was a castle behind her when I first opened this one up.
And you're right. It's literally the only thing that's on display here.
Yeah.
And the rest of it just seems to be just pointless. They focused on her boobs.
Yeah.
And now that you mentioned it, Uncle Chris, I did never notice the sign-in of the artist. And there it is on the step down there, too.
Yeah, he's got it down. Like he's trying to hide him a little bit.
Yeah. And this one's also $2.99 and $3.75. So, seems to be the thing. Alright, so let's get into the comic. We got a nervous girl going to, I guess, a sorority meeting to try and join a sorority.
Yeah, maybe.
And so she signs up, but she realizes she accidentally stole her pen.
Oh no, that's not going to be good.
So she walks back to find those girls making fun of her. And then when they realize she's there, they continue to be bitches.
What does she expect? She's got a turtleneck and glasses on. You're going to get picked on in a comic book, don't you know?
She's got blonde hair and green eyes because she's not attractive at all.
Yeah. Well, this is the typical trope of I'm going to pull my hair out and take my glasses off and I'm going to be prettier than all the other girls.
You say that.
I just want you to isolate the part where I say I'm going to be prettier than all them other girls and put that on there. That's
yes, we will. We will now have that for the beginning of all of our shows.
Oh man. Anyway, she runs out past, I guess, another student or a teacher, and she comes across a lecture on fairy tales. And she's like, I need a distraction, so she goes in and she listens to this woman telling fairy tales. And the teacher is going to tell the story of Cinderella.
Okay, now here's my problem. You sprung on me this magic book, which I was all excited about, and I didn't see a book in this before we get into this story proper here.
Okay.
So what sweeps her over to Cinderella's story? Just listening to the... Because they seem like they go into the story where it becomes, like, real for them.
So, if you look at the last panel of this comic...
Yeah.
The teacher's walking away with the girl in the future, and she has the book in her hand.
Wait, where is she walking away with the girl?
At the last page of the book.
She actually brings out the book.
You mean the last page of this comic?
Yeah, of this comic. And actually, when the Cinderella story ends, she actually brings out the book in the classroom when she has the conversation.
So just her telling the story out of the book pulls this girl into the story?
She is magic.
Okay.
And the fairy tales are meant to have these people, reflect on their lives and stuff. There's actually a good version of this and another one that's an evil version of this. And one's trying to help people, one's trying to corrupt people.
Oh, okay. Now, is everybody in the lecture hall doing the same thing? Like they're in their own Cinderella story?
The girl is drawn into it and it specifically targets her.
Okay. See, this is all stuff you need to know to make the story better.
I know, but it's kind of revealed later,
Right, and it would be cool to find out later if you could suffer through until you found it out and figured out what was going on.
But like I said, I probably wouldn't. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I will read it, but I'm saying, if I just read these two, just happened to say I bought this first comic off a stand and read it, I would never have bought the second one.
You say you will read it. I got 60 years worth of Batman to read, so I don't know if I'm going to be reading that anytime soon.
I read a lot of comic books, so...
I have some time on my hands right now, so I might get into
You do. You should be able to catch up on a lot right now. Anyway.
Yeah, so we cut over to the story of Cinderella. And, it's Story of Cinderella. She's being forced as essentially a slave to her evil stepsisters and her evil stepmother, and a princess having a ball, and the stepmother's telling the stepdaughters, and Cinderella asks all girls are invited to this ball, and the stepmother gets mad, grabs her by the hair, drags her, and throws her into her crawl space.
Into the crawl space? I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Apparently, in this crawl space, not only is it dark, but there's ghosts.
Or is that her mind?
I was going to say, I think it's her in her head. That's the way I kind of got it, but I don't know.
Except one of them comes alive eventually.
In this book?
Yes, he's right.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
So, well, the ghosts are tormenting her, pretty much saying she's scum and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the stepsisters are fighting over who gets to be with the prince. And so they get dressed and they head to the ball. Meanwhile, one of the ghosts comes to life and says, I can give you everything you want in exchange for your soul.
Yeah, that is not the Cinderella story I know. The fairy godmother is a soul collector for what, like the devil or something? I don't know what's going on.
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the Grimm Fairy Tales version of it.
No,
so
me neither.
Knows?
I don't remember the Grimm Fairy Tale version of the fairy godmother. I do remember the sisters like trying to shoe on and like cutting her weird feet off and stuff, but
yeah. But I don't remember what happened with the fairy godmother, so who knows?
No. But she's creepy. She looks like a voodoo princess or something.
Right.
It's kind of the Spawn story with this lady.
A little bit.
I'm going to give you the power. Yeah.
She's recruiting the souls for hell.
But at the same time, it could be any story with the devil.
That's fine, except for when they send minions here to recruit people to their army.
Again, that Spawn's not the first one to do that.
No, he just did it the best.
Just saying, he did.
Whatever. Whatever. Cinderella agrees to her terms. And, it's the classic story. She gets her dress. She goes to the ball. She's got to be back by midnight. She loses her slipper. And she comes back, and her life's still normal. She's wondering why she does it. So the fairy godmother shows up in human form instead of ghost form. And she's like, you have to be patient. You'll get what you come in. But Cinderella is vengeful. She says, I don't just want the prince. I want my stepsisters and stepmother to suffer too.
Yeah, she's not a nice person. She wants people punished.
I mean,
her stepmother grabbed her by the hair and threw her into a
mean, it's not like she's not justified in her anger.
She is kind of justified. But if the devil's trying to get your soul, you probably should try to get rid of those evil thoughts in your head about revenge and punishment.
But here's also the thing. At this point in the story, she had already given up her soul.
Yeah, you might as well just go full evil at this point. You're right. You're right. Or fight it like Spawn does, but I don't think she's doing that. So, she's like, make them suffer, and then the stepmother comes up and says, oh, the prince is coming to town. You're going to have to impress them. But then the sky starts getting dark. And then it turns into Alfred Hitchcock's Bird movie. The birds.
It's a murder of crows.
Yep. As crows start picking at them. And, well, they killed two of the two stepsisters as the mother leaves them to die to be pecked to death.
She just shuts the door and locks them the hell out. She's like, oh, well, that's a shame for you guys. I'm living.
Yep. But inside... I have to skip down 3 pages because I skipped over all the pecking to death.
There's a lot of pecking going on.
Yeah, one of the birds gets into the house and knocks the stepmother down into the crawl space where she's like mangled.
Oh, yeah, they threw Cinderella down there and she didn't get messed up like that. She like crippled her. Like her legs are twisted like a pretzel.
Yep. And so the evil stepmother is calling for Cinderella to help her, and Cinderella's like, nope, and closes the door on her, and she walks out, gets her prince, and live happily ever after.
Well, she gets the prince takes her in the thing, nobody looks over and sees the dead body laying on the front lawn.
Now, I liked that drawing.
What, the zombie-looking face?
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool with the red eyes.
And the feather.
Yeah,
hanging down.
The skin almost melting off, like in the. I thought it was neat. I like that one.
So, back in the present, the teacher finishes, and Cinderella seems. Well, I say Cinderella, but the girl seems to be the only one left in class.
Yeah, what the heck happened there? Was that like a bullcrap class where there was really no people there, or
it was just a lecture? It wasn't an actual class. It was like one of those guest lecture things where that's why the sign was up there. There wasn't like. You know what I mean? So anybody leave.
What happened in the middle of the story? This lecture sucks. We got to get out of here. And everybody left. And
or maybe the story was too scary for them.
Maybe they were never there at all.
Maybe they couldn't stand that girl in the green shirt yelling and screaming, while she's in a trance in the middle of the damn thing.
Maybe. But anyway, the teacher brings out the book.
I see the book now.
And I have a question about, if she's okay and stuff. And as they're walking out, the teacher says, all your dreams can come true. That is, if you're willing to make one small sacrifice.
Uh-oh.
Yep. So
crows are watching too. The crows are watching.
So this girl in future comics does become like a Cinderella.
Okay.
And she is psychotic. She just murders people left and right.
See, these are the things that, like, I wasn't impressed by these two openers, but again, it just didn't start off strong. If they're going to go into what you're saying, I feel pretty good about it.
Like, she has a sword and she decapitates people and stuff. She's pure evil.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For me, I kind of wish they would have given me a little more draw on these first two to get me there. And
I'll be honest with you. I don't think they knew what they were doing yet.
Okay, you think it evolved?
I think it evolved.
They had enough sense to put that book in at least so they could build off of it, which was
right. I mean, they had the book story. They were like, okay, we have a magic book. We want to tell Grimm Fairy Tales, and I think they were just going to tell Grimm Fairy Tales for a while, and they did for quite a bit. But then they started expanding and creating a whole universe.
I made it through the next one, the Hansel and Gretel one, and I really wasn't that big on that one either. That one was weird too.
Well, that one's weird because they do eventually have a comic about Gretel.
Okay.
And what she does is she kills witches and then eats their hearts to gain their power.
Oh, nice. That's good. I'm actually flipping through it right now to see if I can see the book. I don't see no damn book in this one.
I didn't read that one.
I think it's in one, but I'm not going to reread the whole thing to figure it out.
It's when she goes out, right?
She's in the car. I think he looks at it in the car, right?
And he has it in the car, yes.
Oh, yeah, what's this? It's a book of fairy tales. Okay, maybe we'll cover that one eventually, since I have the whole anthology right now in my computer, so.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you made it better to start with.
Yeah, by giving us the more info that we needed, it was definitely better that knowing that it's going to lead up to something. But as standalone stories, I personally think they suck.
I also remembered the stories being different.
Yeah, definitely. The real Grimm...
No. I mean, these comics in general, it's been so long since I read them, I've remembered the stories different. Like, I thought, like with the Cinderella story, that the actual girl was the one that threw her stepmother down in the cellar in exchange for the souls and stuff.
Well, the fact that you know the overarching story, you probably had these in better light, too. You were probably like, once you told us, it was better to me already. So
I mean, I remembered them different, and I thought they were going to be better than they were. But then I realized, reading the first one, I was like, oh, right. But yeah, you have to... I definitely should have started you guys off on Wonderland or Robin Hood, because they are so much better.
And they came before this, or this was their first?
No, they came afterwards, but they're their own series, and they don't need to be tied. They don't really tie into this so much.
Oh, okay.
And these are their first comic release, like that. Red Riding Hood one. That was the first.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think they had anything before them.
Do the girls' boobs get smaller as it goes along? Because they're definitely out of proportion.
No.
No, they do not.
They're less sexualized, but they're still dressed like...
Well, a lot of it, if you see old, like, even Black Widow and things like that, they're giant boobs, and they're in skin-tight outfits and things like that. So, I mean, it's not that far-fetched, and it's, it is almost 20 years ago, so...
Like it or not, the reality is sex sells, so...
True. Yeah, we're easy. Men are easy to draw in.
I personally, I believe that on both ends, though. Because really? I know women who see stuff like that, and it draws your eyes to it, and it makes you want to read or watch it. I mean, TV, including TV. Look at Game of Thrones. I mean, I think I know more women who loved Game of Thrones, and the sex and nudity in that was a draw for even them.
Oh, please, 80s horror movies that they banked on nudity. That was how they got people to come in.
I'm just I just think humans in general,
right? Sex
sells. It just does.
You're not wrong. But yeah, that was Grimm Fairy Tales. Anything left to say about that?
I'll give you a better opinion when we go. If you put us back through this again.
Yes.
But to start with, I was at like a 4 or a 3. And, I mean, it may be better than Batman Spawn, but definitely not better than regular Spawn.
Since when do we rate these?
I'm saying that's where I was. That's where I was on my own level. I wasn't rating anything. Yeah.
It wasn't even close. It doesn't even.
Oh God, no! I wasn't starting a rating thing. We're not doing that every podcast.
I was like,
no.
First off, it doesn't compare to Batman Spawn. That's a real comic.
What we should be rating is my jokes that are all a 10. That's what we should be rating. Every joke I have is a 10.
I've been waiting to see if you got one.
Well, should I go for it? Are we done? Did you sum everything up there, TJ?
We don't. I think so. Do you have anything left to say?
I don't.
Lump, do you have anything else to complain about, even though you're wrong?
I was on his side this time, but
and I'm always right.
I did feel a little swayed.
I'm just saying these were not worse than Batman Spawn.
No, but worse than regular Spawn, but not bad. I didn't really like Batman Spawn. I wasn't a big fan of Batman Spawn.
If you picked up Batman Spawn and just read Batman Spawn, you'd be fine. If you picked up this first copy here, most people probably would never read it.
If I picked up this comic, I would have read at least through the whole first comic. But if I picked up Batman Spawn, I've been done after the first page.
So you never read Batman again after that?
I wouldn't have read Spawn ever again.
You don't want to read Spawn anyway.
But my point is, as soon as they got to the Spawn, monologue into it and stuff, I would have been done.
I like that. Anyway, these, you don't like the fantasy stuff. These are all fantasy.
Yeah, but that's the context of the real fantasy. It's not, it's not a dream, essentially. There's a reason for all of it.
Come on, this is nothing, nowhere compared to when Batman went into the giant realm and was walking around in there and stuff.
Which time? When Robin had a dream, or when he got sucked into a giant book?
Listen,
they were both so good. Yeah, they were both so good.
Were good.
Listen, this is the same. They're getting sucked into a book. Batman got sucked into a book.
This was the same.
But this is supposed to be magic.
Yeah, well, maybe they found the magic book that Batman got sucked into.
They never established magic in Batman.
They don't, because they don't know about magic.
They never established magic in the first comic book.
Nope.
In 1940s, electricity is magic.
Listen, I'm just telling you that in this comic book, I don't know anything about any kind of magic book at all. Nothing.
No.
Zero.
No.
There's no magic book.
But even at the end, when she wakes up, it's surmised that she was outside. There were the leaves on her bed, and there's a scar on her face that it did kind of happen. It wasn't just a cop-out. Oh, it was all a dream. Nothing happened.
Come on. That's what they do in The Wizard of Oz, and that movie's awesome.
In retrospect.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Anyway, yeah, ahead.
So I was looking up jokes for Red Riding Hood, Grimm Fairy Tales. I looked up Cinderella jokes, and I settled on the Red Riding Hood jokes for a reason. So I'll tell you the joke first, and then I want to tell you my explanation. I used this website called UpJoke, where it lists a ton of jokes, and you vote, and the joke gets moved to the top. Okay? So Red Riding Hood jokes, they had 25 Red Riding Hood jokes. Okay? So I'll tell you the joke now. Little Red Riding Hood walks alone through the dark forest. Suddenly she hears a rustling behind a thick bush. She pushes the branches and bushes aside, and suddenly the big bad wolf is sitting in front of her. Oh, big bad wolf, why do you have such big red eyes? And the wolf says, get out of here, I'm pooping. Okay? That is the joke. And it was like, it's pooping. It's a poop joke, right? So then I go down, and number 3 is a joke where Big Bad Wolf's pooping in the woods. Number 4, Big Bad Wolf, he's pooping in the woods. Number 5, almost the same joke, Big Bad Wolf's pooping in the woods. Out of the 25 jokes, 15 of them were Big Bad Wolf pooping in the woods. The number 1 joke, besides the Big Bad Wolf pooping in the woods, was, it says, I've started dating Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother. She's a real animal in bed. That was the first one. And then after that is poop after poop after poop.
I like poop jokes.
They're funny.
I'm okay with it.
It's almost the same joke over and over again. I'm gonna upvote the first one I just read to get it to the top. So the number 1's pooping joke too. That's what I'm gonna do. Everybody go on UpJoke and vote the pooping joke to the top to put that Red Riding Hood's grandmom is an animal in bed joke down the second.
Deal.
And that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Whatever. Bye.
Bye.
TJ here from Comics and Us. Just here to plug the social media. Check us out on Twitter. Our handle is @EveryTNUs because someone took Everything and Us. But the name of the Twitter page is Everything and Us Podcast. And then the handle is @EveryTNUs. You can also check us out on Instagram, which is also Everything and Us. These all encapsulate all the podcasts that I do, but you're going to find all your updates for Comics and Us, Anime and Us, so forth and so forth. You can also contact us right now at everythinganduspodcasts@gmail.com. Still working on the website. And until then, that's where you can get a hold of us. That's all. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.